DBMS Important Questions Part 2 SQL. Question number 3. What are the different aggregate functions in SQL? Or write a short notes on aggregate functions in SQL. So let's try to understand what is an aggregate function in SQL. So aggregate a function that is used to perform calculation on multiple values to give one single value is called as the aggregate function. So very close to the mathematical formulas or mathematical relation with respect to the data inside the database is called as aggregate function. So these are something which are already inbuilt and has a backend algorithm. So you need not write a separate set of instruction for each operation, that is for addition operation, for division operation. You need not write a separate set of code. Once you use this ready-made or inbuilt function, the operation will be done over the set of values. And an aggregate function ignores the null values. So if your data consists of null values, the operations will be performed on all other values except the null values. That means it ignores those values. Except there's one function called as count, which also takes this null value into account. Remaining all other aggregate functions will ignore the null values. Okay, let's try to see how many aggregate functions we have. So we have around 5 aggregate functions. In that, the first one is AVG. AVG is nothing but average. Next one, MIN, that is min, that is used to find out the minimum value. Next one is max, brackets. So this is nothing but maximum. Next one is sum, brackets, which is going to give the total value or addition value of the data. Next one is a count aggregate functions. So what are those? Average, min, max, sum and count. So now the syntax of the aggregate functions goes like this. That is, mention the name of the aggregate function that we have just seen, that is all the 5 aggregate functions, and it has to be followed either by distinct or all expressions. So distinct or all keyword followed by the expression that you want to impose for this particular aggregate function. So this concept will be pretty clear using the example. Let's try to see the example in the coming slides. As of now, keep in mind the syntax goes like this, that is name of the aggregate function followed by distinct or all, and then followed by the expression. Okay, so let's try to understand what is this distinct and all that are used in the aggregate functions. So the aggregate function that accept an expression parameter can be modified by the keywords distinct and or all. So how is it going to modify the expression parameter? Let's try to understand. So if I use keyword distinct, what is it going to do means it's going to return only the different values in the result set. So what is that? Let's assume my output consists of values 2, 2, 4, 5, 6, 6. So among this, if I apply keyword distinct, my output goes something like this, like the 2, 4, 5, 6. So what has happened exactly? Among 2 values, I have taken only one value which is different, and here among 2 6 values, I have taken only one value as the output. So this is how the distinct keyword works, and this distinct modifies the expression to include only the distinct values that are not null. So if in case I have null also imposed over here, this null will not be considered in my output. That is one thing the distinct does. So hope the concept of keyword distinct clear. Next one, let's try to understand about all. So what is this all keyword going to do? All keyword shows the records. That means it shows all the records or the rows where the expression is not null. Again, even the all keyword carries the condition of not null, and it is going to show me the all records. So for the same example, if I apply all, the output will be just taken as it is and pasted. That means the output will be 2, 2, 4, 5, 6, 6. So that's we are trying to guide the compiler to give the output which has all the values. So do not apply any different value concept. Just show me the output as it is. So this is how your all keyword works. So this distinct and all has to be imposed along with the aggregate functions. So remember, whatever the aggregate functions that we are seeing right now are the basic aggregate functions. Okay, so let's try to apply this concept over the examples. For average function, I have a query like to compute the average marks of the students, we can use the average function something like this. So how is it going to do? So the thing which we need as the output, that is average of marks, that we write in which command? In select command. Select AVG of marks from the table student. So very simple. The one you need as output that you put in the select command, and what you need as output, that is the average of marks. So that you write in the select command AVG of marks, and then followed by from statement where the table name is student, and the where clause has no condition according to the query that I am removing. Okay, so how to use select from where? This link is provided in the I button. Please do watch and try to understand the concept in detail. So let's move on to this fair example where we are going to apply the other aggregate function. So this example is about the test where the ID is 11, where the attributes are ID and the value. So how many attributes I have? There are two attributes for the table name test. So let's try to understand the next aggregate function for the example, that is count. So what is it saying? The count function is used for returning the total number of values in the specified field. So in simple, I can say your count function is going to give the total number of records present. So for example, if I have a table student which is having around 10 records and 3 attributes. So the table is student and I have the record of 10 students and 3 attributes. Assume X, Y, Z, and the records are 10 records over here. So if I write my count function something like this, count of say X, then it will count all the number of records present in the attribute X and returns as the output. So here the output is 10. And keep in mind the count is going to work even for the null values. If one of my records in the X attribute is carrying null value, even that will be considered by the count aggregate function. And one more thing, this count is also be applied for the numeric as well as non-numeric data type. If you have observed in previous AVG function, it was applied only for the numeric values, but here it works both for numeric as well as non-numeric data type. Then what is this count star that is seen on the screen? So this star represents apply the count function over all the attributes. So here I am not going to mention a specific attribute name in the bracket. Instead of that, I am just specifying a star. Then it is going to count the records of all the attributes. That means the record which carries all the attribute values, those will be counted and given as the output over here. Okay, so for the same example that we have seen previously, that is test ID value, let's try to apply count. So if I apply count for ID, so what is that I am saying? Apply count of all ID. So how is it going to work? It is going to take on all the values as the output. So which attribute is it considering? Only ID, and the number of records are 1, 2, 3 and 4 because it's going to calculate null as well. So the output is 4. And if I write count star of the test, so it's going to give the output again as 4, taking both the attributes into consideration. So let's try to move on. Okay, so that's what it says. Select count star and mention the name of the table in the from clause. And same way, select count all ID and from the test table. Okay, so output will be 4, and here also the output will be 4. Keep in mind all the aggregate functions you are using only goes with the select from where clauses. Okay, next one is min max function. So the syntax again remains same for all the aggregate functions. You just follow and apply the condition on the same example. So what is it saying? Min max function is going to give the minimum as well as maximum value for the specified column. So how is it going to work? Again, select min of value from test. So what is it going to give? Min of value means minimum of value. So this is what you need as output that I am writing in the select command from test. So the value will be 100 as my output. Same way, if I replace min with max, the output will be 400. The syntax is same. So next one is the sum function. So sum, as the name indicates, there's nothing much to explain. Sum is going to give the total value from the specified column or attribute. Clear? So if I write this command something like this, select sum of a value from the test, then it is going to add up all the values present inside the attribute value and is going to give me the output of added values. And keep in mind, this aggregate function sum is going to work for only numerics. Okay, so what we have seen so far, the aggregate function, different aggregate functions are average, count, max, min, sum, and the basic functions that keywords that we use along with this one is distinct and all, and the syntax goes something like this. And we have seen the expressions where the average works only for the numeric value, sum also works only for the numeric value, whereas count works even for numeric, non-numeric, and also it takes null into account, and min max also works for numeric values. So in next coming video lecture, let's try to understand what is meant by group by and having clause. Thank you very much. Hope the concept is clear.